Excelente, etcétera.
Thrill me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Flicks and Guitar Picks podcast. I'm your host, Tim, and today I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host and third member of the Ying Yang Twins, Steven. How's it going, man?
Yeah. Wait. I don't know what's the? What do they say? Yeah.
You got whisper.
Hey, little girl, whisper.
That was ASMR that nobody wanted. I could promise you. If somebody's listening in Raycons, they probably just took them out and threw them.
I just remember the MTV Cribs episode.
Oh yeah, no, they used to do the or whatever. They would do like those.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. The
Yeah, I love the Ying Yang
I
Twins,
can't do it. That's terrible.
But of course, with you, it's the Yin Yang triplets. But the albino, you're the Yang into their Yin. But no, hell yeah! And of course, today we're finishing up the Phantasm franchise with Phantasm IV, Oblivion, and Phantasm V, Ravager. We
Save
decided
the
to
best
pair
two
these,
for last.
right? We decided to pair these two together just to kind of, we've been going on these for a while already, and then it was already we had taken a little longer break. There's been a few more episodes between, me and Steven's last when we did Phantasm 3. So figured we'd go ahead and just knock these ones out so we can get to some fun stuff, especially with summer coming up and there's gonna be so many new horror films coming out and all that. But and of course, before we dive into Oblivion and Ravager, have you seen anything or been listening to anything lately that you want to shout out?
Ooh, what have I been seeing? Let's see. I saw Obsession, which I know you haven't seen yet, so we won't get too far into it, but I loved it.
Might go tonight, but I'm not sure yet. Might go if I don't go to tonight, it'll be tomorrow. So
Hell yeah. Um, Other than that, I've been playing a lot of catch up on films. I finally saw Undertone, which I was underwhelmed.
wah, wah.
Yeah. I saw, let's see, what else did I see horror related? I saw They Will Kill You, which was fun. So yeah, just kind of like chipping back away. Still been watching a lot of shows. And the one that I've been really enjoying is Widow's Bay. I don't know if you've heard people talking about that. It's just this fun like New England kind of like horror dark comedy show. But yeah, that one's been a surprising treat. So
Yeah, that's one of those that I keep seeing like stills from, and I like don't want to watch any full clips so I can actually watch the show without getting any of the spookiness spoiled. But I've heard that it's very fun
mhm.
and like nothing but good things about it, so I'm excited to check it out.
Heck yes.
Have you been listening to anything lately, or
Let's see, what have I been rocking out to? I have. I've been listening to the new Frozen Soul
fuck
album.
yeah, same.
I don't really listen to a lot of death metal. And I don't even remember why. It might have been something you shared or somebody shared it, and I just really liked the album artwork. And I was like, this looks metal, and I've been playing a lot of D&D. And it's pretty much like perfect music for like dark D&D soundtracks.
Yeah.
So, and didn't know freaking singer from My Chemical Romance is on that like their one like main single that they did. Did you know that?
Yeah, I still haven't figured out like where he's at on it because like I don't I've like listened for him, but I think the song's called "No Place for Warmth" or something like
Something
that.
like
But
that.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think it's at the end. I think it's like right at the end where it's like it's not like the typical like super low deep like death metal growl, and it's like that like high pitch, more shrilly, at the end. I'm pretty positive that's him.
yeah.
I feel like I can hear it. But yeah, that's weird. I guess they have a lot of cameos on that album.
Dude
Like
from Machine Heads up there. Yeah,
yeah. Which is funny because listening to that song, I was like, oh yeah, it sounds like a Machine Head song to a certain degree. Like I can hear that. So
yeah,
yeah, it's cool. I dig it. It's it makes me feel evil and primal.
yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah.
Now, Frozen Soul's one I've been listening to a lot of lately as well, and it's weird because they're a band that I've always heard of. I've even been following them for a while, but never really dove
Mhm.
into their music. Like I've thrown it on before and just like let it play and liked it. But this is the first time I've actually like put on an album and like listened to it over and over. Like a few times. Like I put it on, listen to it through, and then like a day or two later, I'm putting it on again, listen to it through and stuff. So now I really enjoy this album, and I'm with you. I don't know what drew me to it. It might have even been the album cover, but or the fact that it had, I think I heard the. I just happened to check out one of the singles. It might have been the one with Gerard Way, or it might have been the one with
Mhm.
Machine Head, which is called Invoke War for anybody that wants to check that one out that doesn't know. But and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the new Ingested as well. I've been listening to a lot of Ella Langley when I'm not listening to the heavy stuff, which she's
Mhm.
country, but I really enjoy her music. She's got a real big song right now called "Choosing Texas," but her song "Be Her" is my shit in my opinion. But and then I've been watching a lot. As far as watching stuff, I've watched two halves of movies.
Mhm.
Send Help, which I was really
Oh
liking,
yeah,
but I had to like leave and go do stuff.
sure.
And then I didn't have time to finish it. I've had to spend my free time watching Oblivion and Ravager, so I'll finish up Send Help tomorrow because it's my day off. So I'll definitely finish that up before this episode even drops. So I will have seen Send Help by the time this episode drops. Then I started Saturnalia one night and I turned it off on purpose because I was felt myself dozing off.
Hmm.
And again, that's one that I just haven't had time because my wife wasn't really digging it, but I was. But she doesn't really love like Italian horror films, and to me, I felt
Sure.
a lot of those nods and stuff, and I was really enjoying it. It felt almost like somebody was remaking Suspiria, like
Hmm.
but with like a little bit different tone. And I didn't get too far into it, so but no, I really enjoyed that so far. But I haven't seen anything in full. My wife has gotten me hooked on Love After Lockup, so we've been watching a shit ton of that. So.
Wait, what is this show? Tell me more about Love After Lockup. I want to watch this.
Dude, so it's a reality TV show and it's about people that either meet while they're in prison or
Uh-huh.
like just got out of prison and it's about their relationships and like of course like a lot of them are drug addicts or
Tight.
like horrible cheaters or like getting thrown back in prison and all this stuff. Like one girl and there's a Virginia Beach girl and she's got like two guys that both keep going in and out of prison and she's going back and forth between them and stuff. So
Oh
it's
my
just it's
God.
funny to see them just like walking on the boardwalk in Virginia Beach, you know what I mean? Like next to Neptune and shit. So but it what's
Mhm.
what's wild about it is Lauren binges it while she's at work. Like she'll just put it on in the background
Mhm.
because they'll do like 10 episodes with all like a group of couples, and then all out of nowhere they'll just shift to a new group of couples for like 10 whole episodes. And so
Mhm.
like I only care about like one group. And so she'll like watch through until it gets to that group, and then we're like, all right, let's watch it again. So like
Nice.
tonight we'll probably catch up on our group of people, including the Virginia Beach girl. There's this one girl that's horrible on drugs, and I feel so bad for her,
Oh
but
no.
she's done like so like her transformation from like the first episode she was on till now is wild, dude. It
Oh
literally
yikes.
is like this is your brain on drugs type shit. Like it's wild. I think her name's Trixie. If anybody she's passed away now, rest in peace. Like she died from drugs eventually, but
No thanks.
the show's
Yikes.
older, so like we're watching older, you know what I mean, stuff. But I think she died in like 2021, so it's not like that old, but definitely
Damn.
still. But
Well,
she
hey,
fell into the drugs.
incarcerated people need love too, so.
Yeah, man, that's my thought. But no, so yeah, I haven't really been watching much. My plan is to get out. I want to see Passenger. My buddy said that's a fun, like almost haunted house film in a car. Uh,
Mhm.
so I'll probably try to go see a double feature of that and Obsession tomorrow night if I don't just go see Obsession by itself tonight. But there's so much coming out next month. I really need to catch up before that stuff just
Mhm.
keeps rolling out because we got Backrooms coming out. We got scary. It's not horror, but we got Scary Movie 6 coming out, which is horror
Mhm.
related, obviously. And then
Sure.
a movie that's not even horror, but I'm dying to see is Masters of the Universe. I'm like so
Ah,
fucking stoked on that and stuff. So, but and then of course I want to watch like my son is actually interested in watching the Stranger Things 85, so we'll probably watch that soon. And
oh yeah.
I also want to check out maybe their new show, The Burrows. I've heard that it's pretty good too, and I
Oh
like the
yeah.
cast. So
We literally just finished that. I've completely forgot that I watched that entire show from this weekend.
well, yeah,
Yeah, it was good. I think you'll dig it. Definitely has like a Stranger Things feel, but leans a little more like classic like Spielberg-esque as far as like, sci-fi mystery. It's good. I think you'll enjoy it.
is it limited or does it feel like there's gonna be like a second season possibly?
Mm, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to give away anything, but I feel like the way it ended could wrap up, but I don't know.
It could
I
go
guess
either
it could
way.
keep.
Like if
Yeah.
pretty much Netflix was like, if we are successful, we need an out for another
Yeah.
season. So, hell yeah. But no, that's awesome. I'm stoked to catch up, and then we'll be doing another episode very shortly. I'm not
Mhm.
even sure what we're gonna do next, but we'll figure it out off mic, I guess. But we can just go ahead and do the makeup effects gone wrong next, if you want to go ahead and claim that for our next topic.
Mhm.
Uh,
I like it. I like it.
Oh yeah, well, when we record that, hopefully I'll be caught up on a lot more movies and have more reviews to give out and stuff. But and then of course, like later on in the year, hopefully we'll be able to catch some new stuff as it comes out and review that and stuff. At least like within a week or two of it dropping. But
Yeah,
uh, pretty much once we hit June, there's something every week coming out. So,
yeah,
but no, hell yeah, we could dive right into Phantasm. We could start with Phantasm 4 Oblivion and then kind of just work our way into Phantasm 5 Ravager. We could just wait and rank them both at the end if you
sure.
want. And
Yeah.
we can rank them if you want at the end, but I feel like ranking them is kind of whatever. But
Oh, you mean like rank every single one within the franchise, or?
yeah, we could just say like our personal rankings, but we could say them
Mm,
really quick. We don't got to explain why, because we've already talked
got it,
about
got it,
them
got it.
at length. So we could just be like, my ranking is blah 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 blah.
Sure.
So well, hell yeah, we can dive into Phantasm 4 Oblivion, and of course, one thing I'm excited, or one reason I'm glad that we put these together is I feel like unlike the first three films, there's not as much to talk about in these films. I feel like they kind
Mm-mm.
of like both storylines carousel. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of just going in circles, and it's fun in a way, and it's different than
Yeah,
the first ones, which we'll get more into in a second. But no, it just definitely like we could just touch pretty much on like the main important things in both films, and really don't need to go front to back. Of course, we'll talk
sure.
about them in order, but what were your thoughts on four? Was this you said this wasn't your first time seeing it, but
No,
you don't
this is
really
my
remember?
second time watching it. I had never seen Ravager because I did the whole like I wanted to because Ravager was coming out. I wanted to watch the entire franchise, and then ended up not even watching Ravager, which is funny. Um, so yeah, so this was my second time watching it. I didn't really remember much of it, so part of me even wonders like if I was like probably falling asleep to this one because I feel like it is kind of one you could easily fall asleep to.
Yeah,
Uh, I think, and this is like a criticism of this one in Ravager is like the storyline is so like loose
yeah,
in both of these that it's just like, all right, well, what do you want to do other than give us like the classic like Reggie's traveling and he's gonna find a girl and he's gonna, it's tracking the tall man and like it's all the classic like, you know, same thing that happens in every film, but like, all right, let's give it a little twist to it. But yeah, four is interesting. I mean, I guess like we get Mike and we're kind of like following his journey, in the beginning of the film because it's like, he left Reggie after three and he's like, I gotta go now that he's got, golden sphere eyes and he's got a big old ball in his head. Um, but so yeah, so it's kind of like his journey, but then quickly picks back up to Reggie again all of a sudden. So um
yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. It's this one's messy for sure. Uh, but there's some really funny things to it. Like I love how Reggie's driving at night, and then the cop comes.
Oh, that whole
Uh,
scene is my favorite scene of the whole movie when he fights the
yeah,
cop, dude.
fights the cop, but then there's a woman trapped in the back of the police cruiser.
Well, no, it's the real cop, but he's all like just mauled to shit.
Oh, that wasn't. I thought it was a woman.
No, I think it's a dude, but they're like chewed up pretty much.
Yeah, but still, he blows it up
Yeah. Oh yeah, he
with
doesn't
him
even think about
still.
that.
He doesn't try to save the person.
The effect
He's
when that like the cop comes walking out and he's on fire. I don't know if you noticed, but like up and to the left, there's like a reverse mirror silhouette of like the cop like walking this way a lot like towards it's very
hmm,
cool looking. I don't know if it was on purpose or something accidentally mirrored. It looks really cool. I was like, that's awesome.
interesting,
I was
huh?
like, I almost feel like they didn't do it on purpose because it's so cool.
Yeah,
And I haven't seen the movie not remastered, so I don't know if it's even like in the
hmm,
original version, but
sure. But I mean, you gotta love a classic Phantasm explosion at this
oh yeah.
point. So I mean, it's par for the course. Uh,
Well, that's one thing this film I feel like does is it feels like I feel like Phantasm established its own tropes throughout the first two and three films, and I
mhm,
feel like this one's felt like it wanted to do something new, and then in order to fluff out the time, they try to rush through some of those tropes. They're like, how can we blow up a car? How can we flip a car? How can we have Reggie chase a girl? How can we have?
mhm.
And I feel like that stuff is just rushed through just to get to Mike just playing with the tall man in his mind. And that's the part that I feel like there's nothing to really even talk about. It's other than the fact that they use scenes from the old, well, we'll get more into it in a second because I don't want to
Mhm.
skip over the fact that the tall man runs over a fucking dog at the beginning of this film.
Yeah, what the hell, tall man? I used to like you. Now you're a piece of shit, even
And
more than you already were.
and then spoiler alert for five, he marks a horse in that one. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, I
what was
was
he
gonna.
thinking, dude?
I, I was laughing so hard, not because I like animal death, but I
What
just was so unexpected. Why did you get him?
same, especially with the I was laughing my ass off with the dog too, just because obviously they don't show it, but you just hear the
Mhm.
like it's I'm like, and he's like smiling. I'm like, that's the only time you've ever seen the tall man smile is like when he runs over a fucking dog.
Yeah, it's brutal. That yeah, that scene. I was just like, oh God, I don't remember that. That's not cool. There's also another almost animal death in this film. When and again I'm jumping ahead, but when with the I can't remember her name. Who's the girl in the fourth film? All
Oh
these
shit.
Reggie's ladies.
I
I
can't
can look it
remember.
up.
I can remember five because he wrote the song about her, and then he couldn't remember her name. Her name was
Uh,
Dawn, but
Jennifer. Her name was
or Jennifer.
Jennifer.
She's only in it
Yeah.
for two scenes, and then she gets fucking spear titties. So
Yeah, but I love how she flips her entire car over a turtle.
yeah.
I
Well,
was
and
just like,
also the flub up of the fact that he like when he pulls off from the rest area where she's at, he's like watching her on the phone, but then he comes pulling up to her on the
oh yeah,
road.
yeah, he's ahead of her. I thought the same thing too. I was just like, wait a second. Like he drives past her and is like, oh, see ya. And then all of a sudden now it's like he's catching up to her, and I'm like, how did she pass him?
Yeah, and of course it lends into the whole thing that like as soon as she flirt, I feel like we should know by now that as soon as a girl flirts back with Reggie, she's the tall man of some sort, or at least being control. Like obviously nobody wants Reggie except for these tall man women because Rocky's the only one not infected, and she
Yeah.
didn't want his ass, you know. So it's like uh this girl like literally flirts with him while driving. Which I mean, it's a one lane road. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. So it's like we're just they just driving on both sides of the road, just flirting with each other. I'm
Hmm.
like, and then like you said, she like swerves for a turtle and flips, and that's what I was getting at. Is like I feel like they just like wanted to hit these certain tropes, and they did it in
Hmm.
such a silly way, and like they rushed through them with Reggie, and then like because then you get this scene, and then they get, of course, you get him like playing a new version of the song from the first movie, but like about the girl Dawn or whatever. Or no,
Hmm.
that's in the next thing.
That's
That's
the next
yeah.
one. Yeah.
This is the one where you get the long shot of the back of his head because
Oh.
Reggie is so happy about his hair in this movie. You could tell he was like, Don, can I just turn my back to the because like if you notice there's a scene when the girl is like in the shower or changing or whatever when she asks him for
Hmm.
like a shirt and he gives it to her. Reggie literally stands up off the bed and turns around and his hair, of course it's bald on top, but it's
Hmm.
so long in the back and it's like long and like you could tell he just dyed it so it's not gray at all. And he like literally turns his back to the camera for like a whole 10 seconds and I was like, this feels on purpose to show off those luscious locks, dude. I'm like,
I'm trying to find the budget for this one because I think okay, it's well, IMDb says the estimate was like 650,000. So clearly, four didn't have the same budget as some of these other films did.
well, and they didn't have to shoot so many scenes because what we're going to get into very shortly, and I guess we've already seen some of it, is the fact that they use a lot of scenes. I mean, of course, they all got the beginning recap, and I'll say this
Mhm.
movie's recap to me is the best one. The beginning of this film has a very eerie vibe, in my opinion. I feel like
It does,
for
yeah.
some weird reason that comes off less like campier than the other ones, up until Reggie starts doing his goofy
It's
shit. But
probably the first one, especially with like the dream sequence and like Mike's whole like emo off on his own adventure journey has the most like tie to the original like atmosphere, you know? Um,
no, when it's with Mike, it feels very much like Phantasm One, and when we're with Reggie, it feels like they're just trying to keep up a little bit of what people loved about two and three. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, it definitely I like that it had more of the tone of the first one for sure.
Yeah.
Um
They did
I
this
wa
thing that. Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
I was saying I was cracking up though in the scene where like Mike is like writing in his diary about his plan and his like what he's doing with the tall man and he's sitting in the back of it's like the most goth thing ever. Just journaling in the back of a hearse with a candelabra as his only light. I mean, I'm just like, okay, come on, dude.
was
Where'd you get that?
And what's funny is the first time he's writing something, it says the last will and testament of Mike or whatever, and then because he goes and like hangs himself just to, which he does it knowing that it's not final. So I'm like, why would you write a will? Whatever. But then the next time he's writing "Dear Reggie," literally, and but my favorite part about that is the fact that when he's writing, those little like minions are like peeking in the window, and he
Mm,
just like looks up, so like kiddish, but one thing is that kind of saved them on budget is they used a lot of footage from the original film. The original film apparently had a 3 hour cut, which is wild because they
mhm.
cut it all the way down to like under 90 minutes. And I'm like, you think that
Yeah.
they would at least cut it, or I think it's under 90 minutes. If not, it's like an hour 40, but it's definitely like a sleek film. And with it having 3 hours, you would think they wouldn't have cut it down that much. But
Oh, totally.
I really would like to see like what that would have looked like. But it's very cool to see how they use the footage and implemented it into this film, and definitely you could tell they had to write around it because
Hmm.
some stuff just makes too much sense for it to not be written around. But that's what makes me
Oh
think of
yeah.
like how much extra story there might have been in that first movie just with some of the stuff they do in this one, you know what I mean? So
Oh yeah. Clearly, I mean, Coscarelli must have had so many ideas that he didn't get to execute in the first one because I mean even the way that 4 ends with Mike and Reggie talking in the it's like the flashback sequence talking in the ice cream truck and like tying it into that moment and that conversation from that it's like oh man like there were so many more ideas that didn't come to life from the first one which is like this is what how many years later this is 98 so when was the first one
well, there's
like
like a whole first one's 79. Yeah, I think it was
yeah
1979.
so it's like almost a decade or more than a decade later that you get those moments coming back I don't know it's kind of wild.
Yeah, the first one's 79 and then this one was 98. So yeah, it was.
It's like 20 years.
Is that 20 years or is that 30 years? Oh shit, yeah, that
It's
is
20
20. I'm
20.
stupid.
We
Edit that out, but
we are
I
smart and know math.
don't know what I was thinking, but no, but no, yeah, it's wild that they implemented it in, and they had a whole scene where they literally hung the tall man, and like he cut himself. Like that whole conversation just flowed so well. So I'll
Mhm.
give them credit with that in this film for sure. And then once it gets to Mike, I feel like it. That's the part that I feel like there's not much to talk about. Like the only cool thing that really happens, and really the only new info we get is Jebediah Morningside. Like we get the origins of the tall man in this film, which is
Mhm.
pretty cool. And uh we get them, but we don't get them overly explained. It's just he was a scientist that figured out how to travel to dimensions, and he went to this one world, and it fucked him up, and now he's this evil person. And like you don't find out anything else about it. It's almost like Stranger Things. Like I'm not even being like funny. It's like pretty much like what
Sure.
happened with like you could kind of say it's the same thing with like the tall man had like the same kind of things because Mike obviously has this like telekinetic power to him and he hasn't turned evil, you know what I mean? So he's like kind of like the 11 and like if they would have ended up on the other side of, the I can't remember what they called it in the final movie, but or the final episode final season, but the other side of the upside down, that whole new world that kind of turned
Mhm.
him into Vecna, like, it's kind of very similar with that. The tall man just stumbled upon it, because he was like looking too deep into stuff and found
Sure.
something he shouldn't have found. But no, and that's one thing I like about this film is the interdimensional. I'm really surprised that Don Coscarelli has not been asked to direct a fucking Marvel film because I feel like he knocks out the like multiverse stuff better than most of those directors do.
Yeah.
Especially in five, honestly. I think five does really good with the multiverse stuff, which we'll get into in a second. But
Sure. Yeah, I think yeah, everything is so surface level on these films as far as like the lore goes, which is frustrating because it sets you wanting more. So and like especially like how much the tall man is drawn to Mike. And it is like legitimately never explained why he cares so hard to have Mike.
yeah,
Like the closest you get, I think, is like the second one because you find out like, oh, Mike has like powers, you know? Um, but other than that, you don't really see much of a like evolution of what is going on in his head. Yeah, it's weird. It's just for as creative as this universe is, you would think Coscarelli could have kind of given us more, but I don't know. Maybe he was too afraid to like do something that people wouldn't agree with, so it's better to give less. I don't know.
You know,
Just
no, and I
seems
feel like
lazy.
he purposely like leaves ambiguity in those sections, like because we're talking about 4 and 5, it's a little bit, I feel a little bit better about jumping forward and,
Mm,
talking about 5 a little bit more. But there's even a comment in like towards the end of 5 that he says, like, because in this one, it kind of becomes, Mike has this golden ball in his head, which we see him get put in 3. So I'm like, why are we acting like it's always been there? But
mhm,
it's one of those things where like the tall man is coming for that golden ball, which of course he ends up getting in the end of 4. But there's a comment in 5 where he's like he wanted what was inside my head, and then they make the comment about like did he put it in there, was it always there, you know what I mean? So it makes it's kind of feels the same way about like Mike's powers, you know what I mean? Like, was there anything special about Mike, or was his encounter with the tall man what made that happen, you know what I mean? Because if I'm not
mhm,
mistaken, Mike almost falls into the tall man's world in that first film, and like
mhm.
kind of enters, and that in my opinion, when they were talking about like how the world changed the tall man, I was like, is I wonder if that's what made Mike a target, was like when he fell into that world and
Yeah, I
came
don't
back
know.
out, if like he gained some power from that world, and that's what made the tall man think, of course, in 4 and 5 he ends up saying like pretty much Reggie and Mike are his entertainment, which
Mhm,
is kind of bullshit, obviously, but because if so, he would have defeated him by the end of the film. But
sure,
um, arguably. But we even
sure.
talked about before how in Phantasm 1, it didn't feel like Mike was the end goal. It felt like more of like he was just collecting, the bodies and everything. And like how 2 and 3 kind of made it a little bit more about like now he wants Mike and there's more to it. So, I mean, it very much could have been, like once he entered that world, he became something special, you know what I mean? And was able to jump dimensions the way he does and, create the things he does. I mean, he even creates a
Mhm.
sphere in this film, and controls it all with his own mind. So,
Oh yeah, that was cool. His Pimp My Ride sphere.
yeah.
I liked that. That was one of my favorite parts for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, but and then the sphere wasn't even. I think that the funny part was like the sphere I was expecting to be more of a problem for the tall man, and it's just like sticks in him, and he's just like, eh. But then you find out it's a hearse bomb, more car explosions.
Yeah, it was just to kind of draw him to it, which was cool, except for the fact that you could definitely see the dummy when it should it blow up. But which isn't as bad as him running over the guy at the beginning of 5, because
Mhm.
that dummy was rough. But
Oh yeah.
which we'll get into in a second, because we could wrap up 4 here. Kind of, there's not really
What
much else that happens
Well,
with
I
4
do
except
think
for
there is something important to talk about in 4 is we finally get, which gets messy again in 5, but we finally get some Jody evolution in 4.
you know,
He's a backstabber in 4. Um which is it was an interesting turn, I thought, like how many times are we going to get Jody as a spirit guide in this world? And then Mike is like onto him, uh, and then he stabs him, which I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. What did you think of Jody becoming one of Tall Man's, minions?
no, I really enjoyed that as well, and it felt much like I really enjoyed it, but then watching this one back to back with 5, I'm with you. It felt very much like for what after watching 5, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, totally.
I
It
will.
just erases it in 5.
However, you can also argue though that like once to kind of lead into 5 a little bit, 5 shows us like 4 different dimensions of
Mhm.
Reggie and Mike and all these different people. And so you could argue that this isn't our Jody, you know what I mean? Like our Jody is
Mm,
not there, so he went and found an evil Jody, to bring in to like trick
sure,
Mike. So I mean, there's always something to put in there to make it make sense. But so especially with a film like this where there's so the lore is so wide open. So no,
sure.
I did really enjoy that, and I liked the whole like ball with the saw coming out of it and shit. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. It's utility. He's using it as he's like, oh, great, I can use this to cut into your head. Uh,
And the guitar or the little like tuning fork was,
oh, that was cool. I like that. I thought that was a nice little way to kind of like stop him or at least stun him for a minute. But yeah, it was good. I got like, the things I really liked were, of course, the car sphere that Mike makes. I thought, there were some pretty cool, like, effects and whatnot in this one. Sphere boobs was fun.
Yeah.
Um, I felt like the little like minion dudes looked a little worse than they have. Almost like they're just masks, which they
Yeah.
probably are just masks. Because in previous ones, there's more like, it's more prosthetics and you see like actual like facial movement and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, this one was fine. It just didn't, like you said, it didn't really do enough to like stand out like the first three do, in my opinion. So,
No, I
yeah.
like the return to like the original tone a little bit more,
Mhm.
and I feel like they could have done it without shoehorning so much of the stuff from two and three that people liked,
Yeah.
because it was such a gap between the films. I mean, even back then, I think what the other one was 94, 95, so it was like still 4 or 5 years between those, so and then a huge gap before Ravager, because that didn't come out till I think 2016 or something, but um,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where for me, I really enjoy that return to tone, but I feel like a few other things just take steps back. Like you said, the fun takes a step back.
Mhm.
The effects kind of take a step back. Like some of the memorable moments take a step back. The editing takes a step back. I feel like some stuff is a little wonky because they're trying to force in those like scenes, the old scenes, and instead of flowing it a little better, they kind of just like pop up in their old selves and all
Sure.
this random shit and stuff. So it works well, especially for the time and what budget they had. But uh, it's one of those things that I'm with you. It doesn't hold up to the first three. However, like if somebody was asking me about watching Phantasm, unlike some other franchises where I'm like, you could stop after three or you could stop after
Yeah.
this, I feel like I would watch all of these. You know what I mean? Little spoiler
Sure.
for when we get into Ravager, but I would definitely recommend watching the entire series. I feel like
Hmm.
there's something to enjoy in all of them, and I wasn't necessarily bored at any moments in these. And both
Mm.
this one and Ravager are like under an hour and 25 minutes,
Yeah.
so definitely worth it. But
Heck yeah. Well, yeah, no, that's kind of all my thoughts for four. If
well, I
you
do want
want
to
to.
touch
Oh.
on just the tail ending really quick. I did want to
Oh
mention
yeah,
the
sure.
fact
Yeah.
that it has the lamest fucking part in the entire franchise as well. When he puts on the fucking ice cream f- outfit, I'm like, what the fuck? Why, dude? Like, why are you
Mhm.
bow tying up to go fight in the desert? First of all, it's hot. Second of all, like, it's white and you're gonna be in dust. Like, I don't know. That was just the dumbest shit to me. I understand the callback, but I'm like, no, like, logical human being would be like,
Sure.
I need to be suited up as the ice cream man. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that felt like fan service to the thousandth degree. You know what I mean? But in a way that like it's not cool enough to
yeah,
like need to do that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Uh, it's funny to me, and it's a good segue into the fifth film, but like the level at which they talk about Reggie being an ice cream man, like he is part of SEAL Team Six,
yeah,
is so comical. And I want to know what Coscarelli's like obsession with ice cream men is. Like, did he have like a hero ice cream man growing up that he like aspired to? you
right,
know, because I mean, in the beginning of the fifth one, it's like he's walking around in his, tattered ice cream man outfit, and he even has enough time to say like, he's like dying of thirst. He's like, man, I could go for a rocket pop. And I'm like,
yeah.
this movie like will do anything to shoehorn in some kind of ice cream man humor or whatever.
What's
Uh,
funny, my mind at first was like, is that a futuristic soda? And then I was like, this motherfucker is talking about a popsicle. I like thought about it for a second. I was like, God damn it. I was so
Give the
mad.
ice cream a rest, Reggie.
No, and then of course that's one thing that like immediately with five, it is like kind of a bummer, but you expect it knowing what time it is in
Mm.
the budget, like what time period it came out in the budget they had.
Oh
When you
yeah.
see CGI spheres, you're like, oh my God, no.
Well, and you do start to get a little bit of CGI in four, but
Yeah, but like this is rough CGI.
oh
It's
yeah, it was real bad.
like
Um, but yeah, I don't know. And then even with, I guess my final note on four is the ending is kind of lame too. How it just ends with him like driving off with, like it's like a dream sequence kind of thing. It's like okay, I don't know, like just felt like more to be desired for sure.
Yeah, I would probably like four as an ending, in my opinion, if it was definitive,
Hmm.
but only because in my mind you could easily like think of a few different ways to interpret that ending. Like,
Sure.
okay, like the tall man won, and now Reggie, like, and now Mike is dying, but for some reason his call out is going back to Reggie from before. So now it's going to
Hmm.
be like that could set in the motion for I think for like OG Reggie to stop everything. You know what I mean, or something like that. You
Yeah.
know, so like there's other ways to look at it. It just they don't come to fruition in five. So I'm with you. It kind of does leave it a little bit like uh up it feels more definitive than the other ones only because all the other ones end with somebody being like full on taken, and in this
Hmm.
one it's literally like Mike kind of feels like he's dying, and the tall man won in my opinion, but five
Yeah.
takes all that away. So
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I think Coscarelli should have had the silvery balls to just end it at four and give a definitive ending, and then you wouldn't have. I mean, I'm not upset about the fifth film, but like,
yeah, it's enjoyable enough.
but story wise, you don't need anything from the fifth film. I don't know, which we can dive right into. Um,
When the fifth film actually was an idea from a fan of Don Coscarelli, the guy that ended up directing it. I guess because I was listening to Don
mhm,
Coscarelli talk about when we were doing the original Phantasm, I listened to him go on uh, post mortem with Mick Garris, and of course all he was talking about was Ravager because it was back when like Ravager came
mhm,
out, and I was like, God damn it, I want to hear about like the first movies because we're about to talk about those. So like I didn't get really any info from it, but David Hartman, who directed this one, which I said Don Coscarelli did a great job with the multiverse, but David Hartman did a great job too with this film, in my opinion,
mhm.
at least with the multiverse aspect of it. So maybe, which I don't know, I could look into it. Maybe he did a Marvel movie. If not, he should get a call too, or at least for some episodes of
Um,
their shows. But
what I saw was he did a lot of like animated stuff. The director, so which it's I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure maybe there wasn't like a huge budget to bring on somebody else for it, and uh, but yeah, I don't know. It
well,
seemed kind of random to have that guy, but anyways,
Well, that's because this was actually all like pretty much a dream of like, so he was buddies with Don Coscarelli, and
that that checks.
yeah, and he was like, I have an idea for like a short film that, if I'm not mistaken, the short film Phantasm was going to be like a lot more of just like Reggie in the like mental or not mental hospital, but like the
Okay.
elderly home and stuff. And because of that, something happened where it grew into a full film where they're like, let's just do five, like just do Phantasm
Okay.
five. And it was so a lot of this, it was written, if you look at written by, it's written by Don Coscarelli and David
Yeah.
Hartman. And a lot of the ideas, if I'm not mistaken, came from like David Hartman wanting to like having ideas and Coscarelli liking them, so they put them all together and
Mm.
made a film. And it feels that way. It almost feels like a little bit of it almost feels like a fan film controlled by the people that made the original, which is kind of what it is in a way, and it feels that way. You know what I mean?
I think that's a perfect analogy. It feels very, very fan film-esque.
Yeah, and I
So
mean, of course, the budget doesn't help it because this CGI is horrid, and even for 2016, like, there's no excuse. This is bad, but
no, it's really bad.
it's like sci-fi channel fucking shit, dude. But
Yeah. It makes the monsters and the Langoliers look super super dope.
it's definitely comparable. The spears in this are fucking comparable for sure. But no, but aside from that, like when the story kicks off, there's just some other things that kind of like budget it for me. Like not to knock anybody's look or anything, but like even the guy they cast that has like Reggie's Cuda at the beginning looks like he'd be beaten off in a trauma film, and I'm like, not the type of guy that, like, you know what I mean? Like it's the wasteland. There should be like those
Uh-huh.
types. That's not the type of guy that's gonna survive, in my opinion. So like, why the fuck is
So
he driving the Cuda around? And not
yeah,
even
that
can't he keep it started for whatever reason?
yeah, he keeps stalling out. He's like struggling with it. Friggin' Rick Moranis from Timu driving this
Yeah.
CUDA. And yeah, that was a very trauma-esque scene for sure. Um, so corny. Um, I want to know too, like at this point, like what is the world, and we can dive further into the fact that like yes, this film like touches on like the different multiverses and whatever. Um, but I feel like they do so many like journeys through the back roads and stuff, which is probably like a filming reason so they don't have to like film in cities and whatnot. But like I still don't feel like I've gotten a clear answer. Is the world completely like dystopian and desolate? Has like the tall man wiped out everyone? Or is it still just like these small towns that he's going through? I want to know. Like, I feel like they never talk about like the cities, you
Yeah.
know?
No,
But I,
I feel like it's world domination in one
mm,
of the dimensions. Because to me, I feel like we see three dimensions in this film. And
sure.
there's a comment that Mike makes where he talks about all the dimensions like meeting. And I feel like that's what we're seeing is like
Mm,
within Reggie's mind, we're watching all these dimensions like almost bumping into each other. And that's why it's like fucking up in Reggie's head, but it's really not. You know what I mean? It's just we're watching different Reggies like come together in their minds
sure,
for a little
sure.
bit. And so I feel like the first Reggie we see with the Cuda and the whole like Dawn incident where, he writes the song for her just to watch her get like killed and then, sees Demeter get killed and the horse get killed and shit. But shout out Daniel Roebuck being in this
Hmm.
film. That was awesome. I didn't expect that at all. But so like uh I feel like that dimension is literally like if the end of four was Mike died and either died or was taken, and Reggie had to continue his journey on as if he was searching for Mike like he has in two and
Sure.
three. And then I feel like then we enter the world of this, it's all in his head, Reggie, which I feel like that in that world it truly is like he's not living any of the stuff. Like I feel like that
Mm,
literally is an old man who has his relationship with Mike and Jody, and Mike comes to visit him. He's got the Angus Scrimm character just happens to
hmm.
be, which I mean doesn't really make sense when you think about it because that guy technically should be in the past, and it's all this like really wonky stuff to think about. But I feel like that is a whole nother dimension, and so then it starts to leak into another dimension where the tall man has completely taken over, and there's a whole resistance with Mike, Reggie, Rocky,
Oh
which we'll
yeah.
get into that a little later, spoiler. But uh, what's the guy's name? Chuck Chunk.
Chunk.
Yeah, Chunk. So like
Fuck Chunk. I hate Chunk.
same. And then Dawn becomes Jane, I think, at that point. So I feel like there's three different worlds that we see
Yeah.
within this film, and that's one thing I did really enjoy was the bouncing back and forth. It just sucks that the CGI and budget wouldn't allow it to like look good. So
Yeah, I guess that was my only observation was maybe I mean, the way you did a way better job of describing the like multiple universes than I feel like the film did.
yeah,
Because I don't feel like the movie does well enough to like explain like, oh yeah, like these are because I guess you're supposed to like constantly be like, what is reality,
yeah,
which I think was too ambitious for what this film, wanted to do. This isn't freaking Inception, like
yeah.
we don't. So, I don't know. It's just, but then it makes it so like kind of messy to follow along for sure. So you're constantly like, it's just like, all right, well now there's this sequence. Okay, now there's this sequence. Like, yeah, I don't know. Um,
Well, and if it wasn't for that line that I mentioned where he says something about like all the like I was reading this book about all the things coming together, and then he's like, "I'll just send you the
mm,
book or whatever." Like if it wasn't for that line, like that's what makes me think, because I feel like with everything being so confusing in these films, I feel like there's little lines like this, like that line, and the line towards the end where he's like, "Was it in my head all along, or was it something that he put there?" And like, I feel like that's Don Coscarelli like letting the fans know, like, "Hey, I'm not going to give you this answer, but like, this is the possibilities." Like, as far as like, was it always there with Mike, or is it
mhm.
like, was it put there, or?
Yeah.
And then I feel like with this one, it's almost like him being like, "Hey, like, just so you know, this is what you're watching, but
Mhm.
like, I'm not going to tell you." In like a actual, it's almost like when you're watching a movie and they're in class and the teacher's talking about a story and they're literally telling the story of like it happens in Hereditary,
Mhm.
Nightmare on Elm Street, and they're always telling the story that ends up being like kind of the same story of the movie. And I feel like it's kind of like that. It's almost like without giving it straight up uh damn, I can't think of the word where exposition, without it just being like
Sure.
pure exposition of like Mike standing at Reggie and like in front of Reggie at the end and being like, "No, you're not going crazy. It's because your minds are mending together." It was like that
Mhm.
one little comment just made me think like, so that's what we're watching. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
so then I just started to accept it as different, especially with how different it was. And the first one, that was the two confusing parts, was there's two desert worlds that I feel like we're
Mm.
seeing. And I feel like with them saying that there's so many different dimensions, it makes sense that we kind of see two different fights with the tall man, you know what I mean? But it's just weird because I feel like we end in a different fight than the fights from the first four films, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. And I think that one thing that pisses me off the most about this film is it probably gives the least amount of answers into the tall man and like his purpose and everything of any of the films, which is kind of a bummer. Uh, especially now that we are never going to have another film with our tall man Angus, R.I.P. Um,
And Reggie's on hospice, so he's not coming back either. But
oh dang, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
yeah, he's been rough for a few years, which somebody left a comment on the YouTube, shout out to them, pretty much saying like exactly that, like we'll never get another one with Angus Scrimm passing away and Reggie being on hospice. But
Dang.
I remember there's like somebody that runs a Facebook for him, and they posted back when he was on hospice, like when it got real bad, like a GoFundMe and stuff. So
Oh wow, dang. I didn't realize that. Well, that makes me feel bad for knocking on Reggie for his song in five because I was like, how did he get worse at playing guitar and singing in this film? I don't know if you noticed that, but like it's like he's playing the song that he's played for multiple films, and it's almost like I couldn't tell if he was legitimately just trying to play it poorly or if he's like, no, no, I still remember all the chords because he is slopping up that guitar
yeah.
so hard. But
Yeah, maybe he thought he was giving it a little shush, instead he was just fucking it up.
yeah,
But I'm playing it loose. That's what my grandpa used. I'm playing it
playing it
loose. Like, no, you
loose.
fucking sucking. You're fucking sound like Guitar Hero is what happened. But no, no, I agree. But it made me immediately think of like the end of the first movie where he just plays like absolute shit, and you're like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
no, that's the thing with this film is I'm with you on that. There's so much stuff with like the other sequels. They take the things from the original, like one introduces so many things, then two comes along and introduces some more things that they just continue to introduce, but like they carry on from the one before. And I feel like in four we were introduced to like the problem with doing five after doing what they did with four with like all the callbacks to like the original film is like that was supposed to be like time travel, and now I'm
yeah,
like you can't do that anymore because you used up all the footage, so that's
yep.
gone. Then also the whole like tuning fork thing, like that whole aspect is just gone. And then in this one, like the golden sphere was like his whole thing at the end of the fourth movie. We didn't really mention it, but that's one of the most brutal scenes to me when he literally in the whole franchise when he just comes in and bare hand rips it out of fucking Mike's head. And like that scene right there is so impactful, and like it's supposed to kill Mike and this and that, and it's
Hmm.
like it made it seem like that was his goal, was to get that sphere from Mike, and once he took it, like now he had this power. The only other time you see the gold sphere is like at the end of this movie, and he does like literally nothing with it.
Yeah.
And you get a horrible CGI red sphere, which would have been cool if it was actually like not CGI. The head explosion would have been cool too if it wasn't CGI. But
Yeah, totally. Um, there are some interesting things though in five. We could backpedal back to the whole Dawn thing. The whole Bulgarian farmhand situation, like that must have been just like a bit that they were like, this is hilarious. Let's throw this in there.
yeah.
But yeah, I was like, why? Why is this? Why is that? Why is there more lore about Don's character having a Bulgarian farmhand than we learn anything new of the tall man? I don't know. It's funny.
Now, and one of my biggest gripes of the whole film was when he wakes up and sees that it's Jebediah Morningside next to him in
Oh yeah.
the hospital. I feel like he's under, like you should react more. Like
Mhm.
he's underreacting. Like he's just kind of like, oh, it's you. Instead of like, and then
Yeah.
like he makes a comment and it's over with. I'm like, dude, I would be freaking the fuck out. Like you would get straitjacketed because of like how
Mhm.
scared I would be because this dude's like the dude that you've been worried about this whole time is there. But
We did get a return of the lady in lavender.
her, and I was about to say the psychic too from the first movie. It
Mm.
was cool to see her come back too. She was creepy as fuck.
Yes,
But
super creepy. Lady in Lavender has had a lot of plastic surgery.
she looked
You
good though.
could,
She looked good.
yeah, I mean, she looked fine, but you could tell she's done some work for sure.
Considering it was a 20-year gap, I was like, she didn't look. Cool.
Almost to the point where I was like, is that the same actress? I don't know if that is. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is. So
Yeah. No, yeah. But no, it was cool to see those returns. That was the only thing that I felt like again made it feel like a fan film. You know what I mean? It was
mhm.
almost like somebody that was a fan of the first one didn't want to ignore two, three, and four, but also didn't want to
Totally.
like worry about them as much. You know what I mean? So, and
Do
of
you
course,
want to talk? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
we might have been on the same page. I was about to say, except for of course the mid-credit scene where we get the return of Rocky, which is
Yeah, that was an interesting one. That was like cameo for cameo's sake. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like she comes back at the end of the film in the mid credits, and I mean, I guess you get a little bit like, oh, she's joined the resistance in the future, dystopian fighting war version of the film. Uh, but like she could have come back a lot earlier and done something cool. I don't know. I would rather have more Rocky than freaking Chunk.
yeah. Or like Jane could have been like a passing thing, you know what I mean? Like, oh, why aren't you Dawn? And then like move on to like, oh shit, Rocky, you know? Instead, I
Yeah.
feel like they lingered on her too much for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, if you want the fan service, put it where it matters, you know? So not just
Yeah.
real quick, but and I feel like that's the issue with four and five is they want to do fan service and they drive it home so hard, but they do it like too quick or like they do it in poor ways. And I'm like, if you want to do it, just straight up do it. Like, don't just like. I feel like they're trying to do it without like blowing their load, and I'm like, you
hmm
almost start doing it in a weird, like it makes it weirder. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Um, I want to know how freaking Chunk full on jihads the tall man and comes back. He's literally got grenades strapped to him
Yeah,
to try to kill the tall man, and then comes back out of the portal with only a hand missing.
yeah. He makes that dumbass comment about like the good thing about a fireball is it removes it and cauterizes it or whatever. It's like, shut
Yeah,
up, dude.
your whole body would be cauterized. What the hell? Like, how did you only lose a hand? I'm very confused by the logic here. That whole, oh, that scene also pissed me off because you got Mike and Reggie on the one side of the canyon, and they're on the other side. You got the tall man and freaking Jane at this point, not Dawn,
Yeah,
and Chunk, and then all the little minions, and they're having a conversation. And at first I was like, okay, maybe it's like a mental conversation. I'm like, no, they're talking across that canyon, but talking at like, hey, why are you doing that? Normal like room voice
yeah.
volume, not like, oh, hey, over there. It's so dumb.
Fuck you, Ezekiel. Fuck you, Tommy.
I love that clip.
Yeah, right. That's all I could picture now is the talking to
Yeah,
Mike. Just fuck you.
totally. Yeah, that scene was so dumb. And then, yeah, Chunk with his stupid daggers just starts knifing. Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's easy to enjoy this film because I went in with expectations very low, and I was like, "This
Oh,
film,
yeah,
it's still enjoyable. It just doesn't do anything like." It's one of those that if I want to rewatch through the franchise, I'm not going to watch one through three and then stop. Like I will watch four and five again, but if I'm just throwing on a random sequel, it'll never be four or five. Like it won't,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if I'm like, oh, I want to watch a fun Phantasm one, it'll be two or three, and mostly only because I've already beat one to death for my personal. It'll be a while before I watch
sure.
one again, but
Yeah.
not. It also took me back that Jody looks like my dad now in this movie. I was like, holy fuck, dude, the goatee and chubby.
Mm,
He literally looks like my dad. I was like, that's fucking weird. You know?
that is funny.
When he opened the
Uh,
door, I was like, Papa?
yeah, and then I kind of really hated the ending in this one.
Yeah.
Like them just driving. I mean, I guess they're like, oh, like what's more fitting than them driving off in the CUDA? And I'm like, well, they drove off in the ice cream truck in the last one. Like, do something a little different. And and I personally didn't love the whole like mental asylum like m multiverse version of Reggie. Like, oh, this is just all on your mind. You have dementia. Sorry, buddy. And then like freaking Jody and Mike just like somberly watching Reggie die. Oh yeah, Reggie's death scene, by the way. Give that man an Oscar. Yeah, that was a a funny I don't know. I think at that point I was just like overly critiquing everybody's acting abilities. And I think Reggie's a great actor. I love him in all the movies, but I think we could safely say maybe the director didn't give enough direction for that death scene because it was pretty corny.
It's almost like the director was standing there like, and you're dead. Like, okay.
Yeah.
It was good. Like,
Keep holding your breath. Keep holding your breath. Ooh, let out a little.
yeah. Like, you did too much. Let's do it again. No, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna. No,
Yeah.
I'm with you. This is a movie where they somehow make Reggie look 4 different decades of age, but he's always bald, so it doesn't matter. He's always like he's like Steve Martin. Like he's always looked old, but
Yeah.
like somehow they make him look 40, 50, 60, and 70 all in this film. So,
Totally.
uh, but no, I'm with you. That was like my least favorite thing about the film, and it was mostly because of how much I feel like they would just throw you into it for no reason.
Hmm.
Like I feel like there was a few times like during the climax where they would just have him jump in and out, and I'm like, that was not necessary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I did like it because of like how some it did give us some information to an extent, literally just the one thing about like the multiverses colliding and whatnot. But no, this film just I will say just felt very unnecessary, and with the poor CGI, it just made it like a fun like and the problem is it's not even so bad it's good because it's not bad. Like I don't think the
Mm.
storyline is bad. It just feels like so unnecessary with like the ending of four and with the way it
Sure.
doesn't really carry on a lot of the tropes and this and that in the first, four films and all
Well,
that. So
and I think one thing that is interesting with the whole like multiverse and the infinite amount of tall mans you can have, like it really kind of like it, I feel like it like makes the whole purpose of stopping him feel like pointless. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, you're never going to stop him. There's always going to be infinite universes and infinite versions of him. So like there's no like string of hope that you could actually take down this adversary. You know what I mean? So I think 5 just kind of like makes Tall Man like we've already gotten to the point where it sort of feels like he's overly powerful. And I think 5 just makes it like, well, now what does it matter?
yeah.
Like he could just destroy everything. So
No, I agree. The ending of five is just so different than any like I don't really that's another thing I don't really like is the fact that they tease the giant spheres at the end of the film, like obviously
mhm.
the tall man's still around because I would have preferred them to ride off into the sunset and actually have defeated the tall man only due to the fact that it's like the first three or four the first three films like end with really good stakes in my opinion because you got somebody
Mm.
being taken like there's almost cliffhangers in those like
Sure,
not
totally.
almost there is cliffhangers in those films so they leave the stakes still like okay they're still got a reason they got to fight and they got a reason to keep going against this this evil entity or whatever he is and so and then with four, it kind of feels a little bit definitive because it's like he's gotten what he wanted from Mike and he's gone and he can't be beaten. So like, and now everybody's gone but Reggie, so we kind of just accept that and like that's how it is. But then with this one, it's almost like it it doubles down on like you said he can't be beaten, but not in a way that gives you any kind of hope. All of a sudden, it's
Yeah,
just like we're into another. It's like if this feels like the episode before the finale of a like series finale or
sure.
season finale or something. Like it feels like it's building to a finale, and like I'm like, dude, how did you not go into this film knowing that Reggie's age, like
Mm,
aging, Angus Scrimm was definitely like way too old to be like thinking he's going to be coming back for another one. So I
mhm.
just don't know why they didn't put more of a bow on the franchise with this film. It almost just felt like they wanted to explore the multiverse stuff so much that they were like, what if we showed like all these different like what if we showed all the multiverses for a change? And it's like
Sure.
you didn't have to. Like that's
Well, and
one
I
thing that
guess we
made the
could probably never really know if Coscarelli had that bow like in his back pocket and was hoping like, all right, let's do this one and then I'll do one final one and that'll be it. So
yeah.
I don't know if he's ever talked about that. But yeah, I'm with you there. Um, there's one thing that's said in 5 that I'm like, oh man, they could have done this for either 4 or 5, and it would have infinitely made it more interesting. Was the idea of like when they're in the car and they're like, we're gonna go somewhere cold because the tall man hates the cold. And I'm like, God damn it, you could have just had freaking Canadian like ice fishing phantasm. Like that would have been sick.
Right.
like completely change the environment, because I don't know, the desert has been done so much. We
Yeah.
don't need that anymore. I don't know. But I think
No,
that would have been a cool take, but now we can't do that. So,
no, and that was another thing we didn't really mention with four is the fact that like he's going through and tearing up all these towns, and then all of a sudden in four he's just hiding out in the desert. Like that just
yeah.
shifted a little bit. That was a little bit that shifted four's like funness and like just like the way it sits up on the franchise for me and stuff. But no, no, I'm with you. That would have been really cool to see them go to like the Stanley Hotel type shit, like anywhere like in the mountains or just
Mhm.
anywhere to like where it's just fully snowy, kind of pull like, what the Black Phone 2 did, where they just kind of go up to the
Totally.
cabins and make it snowy. So just to change shit up, and it works for the film and stuff and makes it at least have a different feeling than the rest of the franchise. So now I'm with you. It would have been cool. And they could have kind of turned it into more of like, you know, that neutralizes him in a way. So when he gets there, they could have kind of slowed down the franchise and made it more of like a, back to basics, like he's using the spheres, or
Yeah.
he's got to send his minions because he can't really do shit there or anything like that. They could have definitely done some fun stuff, but no, I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like their ambitions were bigger than their budgets for sure with
Oh, yeah.
especially with 5. 4 is what it is. It almost felt like a film where they were like, hey, we can film out in this desert for free. Let's make a Phantasm film. And it was,
Yeah, that's definitely what I feel like. And I think that's like got to be part of like half of those films, which I think is like a smart. I mean, I know it's part of the storyline, but like as this entire franchise unfolds, you do get more like less houses and towns and like actual building sets and more like remote areas, which works conveniently for the story of them on the road, this being like a traveling, off the beaten path road movie.
yeah.
Um, but also is convenient from like a budgetary standpoint and probably not needing like permits and different filming areas or whatever. So,
Yeah, but then that's some of the charm that you end up losing with 4 and 5 when you don't continue that stuff. Like when you see all these beautiful mausoleums and like all these
yeah.
awesome set pieces, and even the fucking house Timmy's at is like a clown motel that's from hell, and
Mhm.
like even that was like something awesome. And now all of a sudden there's like not even a house in sight except for like a broke down shack, and it looks like they used the same shack for fucking 4 and 5 somehow. In that beginning scene, it just looked like that much dilapidated, like 5 years separate, but
Sure.
which they might have went out to the same desert, so it might have literally been. But no, it's one of those that I feel like there's so much wrong with these films, and yet I was still really enjoyed both of them, like in a
Oh yeah, totally.
weird way. You know what I mean? Like I guess like kind of like the same way I enjoy like 7, 8, 9 of Jason. Or Friday 13th. Like
Sure.
Jason Takes Manhattan is a bad film, but fuck it, throw it on and I'll watch it, dude. Like
Oh, that movie has so much charm. I love that movie.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this entire franchise could be could be way worse. And maybe I don't know if the excuse is that like it never got to a point where it felt like they were trying so hard to like have some secret special storyline that's never been done. I don't know, maybe. And so like you can just always excuse it, like, oh yeah, well, Tall Man's gonna do this or, this multiverse or whatever. Um, I don't know. I just feel like there was never a point where like I mean, I loved how Stranger Things ended and everything, but I feel like a show like that had so much like lore hype on like what is the big reveal going to be, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like this doesn't really need to like suffer from that, you know. We can pick it apart as like, you know, horror fans that are trying to do a deep dive on Phantasm, but at the end of the day, it's really just about the tall man, Reggie with his quad barrel shotgun, getting the girls, cars exploding, and yellow blood. It's
yeah.
it is what it is, and it's fun. So,
No, hell yeah, man. I feel like that's really the only thing. Those are really the only two things that I feel like makes 5 like way lesser than the rest of the franchise, in my
mm,
opinion, is the two things of everything from one through 4. I feel like is building to the next thing where it all makes sense. Like like the next climax makes sense with what we've seen from like the original films and everything. And like you said, there's never like a crazy twist, but we never really expect one. We always just expect the tall man to like get somebody last minute, or
Hmm.
like show that he's not gone completely, and like that's kind of what you get in every single one. And then four kind of feels like the whole movie of four feels like a back to basics with a very much like the desert instead of the cemetery, and a lot of dreamlike sequences, and like you get a little bit of Reggie being goofy, but not as much as like in two and three. And then they kind of do put like a little nice bow on it that feels ambiguous, like the first movie ended as
Hmm.
well. So that one just feels like a nice one through four, like a we could put the franchise to bed. And then five just feels so unnecessary. It misses a lot of the tropes. Like you don't get the car explode. Like you don't get, and the stuff that you do get feels like CGI versions of the original.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't even feel like it. Just feels like very like we've already said, fan film made versions of like stuff we've already seen in the first four films. So Ravager's fun enough like that I definitely say like people should watch it, but I feel like a lot of people would probably share the opinion of like after four you don't really need Ravager as
Hmm.
much as like you don't really need four except for
Hmm.
like because I think at the end of three, if I'm not mistaken, Timmy gets snagged by the tall man, and then we never see Timmy again. So I'm gonna assume that we just fucking Timmy's a minion. But
Fuck Timmy.
I
No, I like Timmy. Timmy was badass.
was gonna say he was handling them, dude. But now I not I enjoyed these films enough, but definitely won't be returning to them like as soon as I will two and three. Two and three were so
No.
much fun that I'm
Oh
like
yeah,
excited to watch them again and show them to people. So, but
definitely. Well, sweet. We did it. We watched all of them.
hell yeah. And I actually I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't think I ever watched four. I think I planned to watch them all when I got the Sphere, and like I started watching them through again, and I got like to like three, and I was like just never watched four or five. And so this is my first time watching four and five, and I'm glad I did. And like I like what we got of the lore, but I mean,
Hmm.
we really don't get much more in four and five other than Jebediah Morningside, which I feel like I knew that somehow, like I
Yeah.
already knew about that, even though I hadn't seen the movie. Uh, but no, do you want to give a rating on both of these, and then we can kind of just rank them really quick if you have a ranking?
Sure.
Or
I think it's fair to say I would give Phantasm 4 5 out of 10. And I would give 5 uh it it deserves a 3 out of 10, but because of my love for the franchise, and I think it's and the weight of that bumps it up one more, so I'd give it a 4 out of 10.
oh yeah. Now I'm gonna give four a 6.5 out of 10. And the only reason it's so high for me is because I feel like it does a great job of going back to basics with a little bit with the tone. It also does a great job of like blending in the like uncut footage of the original film and making it
Hmm.
like almost feel like it was made with the intention of doing this sequel eventually. And there's just a lot of things that I really enjoy about it, but there's also a lot of things that are missing from it. You know what I mean? That
Hmm.
made the other three so special. So that's why it's a little lower. Like I'll drop it down to a six. Let's not give it the 0.5. But and then actually I'm gonna go right with you on four with the
Hmm.
fifth movie, and it's mostly just because I feel like if you showed Ravager to somebody that like didn't have a love for the franchise, they would be like, "That's a pile of shit movie," to be honest with you. And I hate to say it that way, but I mean,
Yeah.
the CGI is just so bad it takes you out of it in scenes. Mike has never been a great actor, but of course, in this movie, when he's trying to play three versions of the same guy and it's just coming off like the same still person, you know what I mean? Like, not even trying to knock a
Hmm.
Michael Baldwin, but it's like it worked when you're playing one note character because it's one character. But when you're supposed to play three versions of that guy and it's just coming across the same, just
Yeah.
with glasses or a ponytail, it's like,
Him as a tortured, you know, like kid over like the everything that's going on with the tall man, and now he's an adult and he's just trying to deal with him. Sure, fine. But yeah, him as the sympathetic, I've got my life together buddy is not great. And then even worse is his like macho, like I'm the I'm
yeah.
the like the post-apocalyptic hero badass. I'm like, no.
That's why they should have had Rocky come back sooner and be like the leader
Yeah.
of the resistance, and him just be like part of it. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
I believe she's a badass. She was ex-military. She knew do nunchucks. We didn't even get to see nunchucks in this fucking film.
Mm-mm.
But
No, that is not true. We did get to see nunchucks in the weapons montage for this
oh,
one.
yeah, when Reggie
He's
throws
like
all his
loading up
guns,
his duffel bag
sword,
of 100 weapons that he
just
doesn't use at all.
just to get knocked over by the fucking sphere as he's like running like
Yeah,
immediately.
so dumb.
And when he's like in that opening scene when he gets his Cuda back and he's driving, he's like shooting at the sphere. I swear the dude's got unlimited ammo in that fucking gun. He shoots like 40 rounds off of a
Yeah,
handgun. I'm like, but nah, they're fun
yeah.
enough. But I'll do my ranking first since you did your ratings first. I'd
Sure.
say as far as my rankings go, uh, number five would be number five. Number four for me would be number four. Number three would be number two. Number two would be number three, and number one would be number one. So my favorite is number one. My second favorite is Lord of the
Mhm.
Dead, just because I had so much fun with that one. So,
Yeah. I think that's the exact same order for mine.
oh yeah,
I think we share similar feelings as far as like I really like two. I didn't love the recasting of Mike is
yeah,
like my biggest hang up, you know.
and
I
a
think
love
if they were
story that doesn't ever
yeah.
come back around or nothing. Well, she dies,
Yeah,
but I mean, like
totally.
they never even revisit the whole
Mhm.
telekinetic connection he had or nothing. So,
Yeah, I mean the second one does a really cool. The best thing about the second one is like the new monsters and villains in that movie. That's like my favorite part, and it like totally like rock and roll like amps up like some of like the setting and scenery. But other than that, like the third one is a better film in my opinion.
yeah,
So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm with you in your rankings for sure. So,
fuck yeah. Now I'm stoked that we finally finished off the franchise, and of course, probably be a minute before we tackle another franchise, but we'll be
mhm.
back at it in 2 weeks with practical effects gone wrong or just makeup effects gone wrong in general. So I might try to
Yeah.
reach out to some makeup effects artists that have been on the show and ask them if they got any stories or anything they've heard of or anything.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I wonder if it'd be too last minute to maybe try to get somebody on. It'd be cool to chat with somebody on that. So,
No, definitely. I'll try. I'll at least maybe I'll see what my buddy Mikey Rotz is doing. Mikey Rotella.
mhm.
He worked on Werewolf by Night. He's worked on a bunch of cool stuff. So he worked on Smile.
Oh, cool.
I think he ended up working on Smile too. But he was the guy that I did a really cool episode with him, and then I lost it. And then luckily,
Mm,
when I joined the YouTube era, I found it when I was moving everything around. I call it the YouTube era because that's what my file was
sure.
called. But when I joined YouTube and started doing video stuff, I found that episode and actually got to release it. So I would love to have him back on for sure. So I'll hit him up and see if he's busy, and if not, maybe also coming up as a guest, the bass player for Bad Acid Trip, who's also a makeup effects artist. He worked
Oh,
on
cool.
Hostel, Freddy Got
Oh,
Fingered,
oh,
Hills Have
sick.
Eyes. So
Hell yeah.
that'll actually be next week's episode. So if you're listening to this, that'll be next week's interview. Will be with him, but he's just super into horror and stuff in general, so he might be able to come on and talk about stuff. I'm supposed to have their vocalist on eventually too, but he's on like actually off working on a project currently.
Let's
So
just get Tom Savini. That should be easy, right?
right. One of the only dudes that ever told me that he'd come on the podcast, but he told me his fee and I didn't have it. I can't pay it. He charges.
Yeah, that
I don't
doesn't
blame
surprise
him.
me.
I'm not
Know
knocking
your
anybody
worth.
for yeah. Hey, and if it wasn't like ridiculous, I'm not saying like I
Sure.
want to say, I mean, hey, if I'm wrong, Tom Savini, I'm wrong, but I think it was like 150 or 250 for an
Oh,
interview, but it didn't say like time or anything like that or nothing. You
sure.
know what I mean? I just recently had the creator of Courage the Cowardly Dog tell me it was going to be $3 a minute, and I was like,
Ooh,
I'm good.
ooh.
I don't make a money myself, so. But
Nice.
no, so I was like, I've been told a few times that like Showstrom, I think the makeup effects artist that did like Evil
Mm,
Dead, he charges, and so there's a couple people that charge. There's people I've had
sure.
on that I see charge now, and I'm like, yes, got them before they started charging.
Heck yeah.
But
Nice. Well,
no, hell
cool.
yeah. But we'll definitely figure that out. We'll be back with that in 2 weeks, man, and then we'll get to some fun summer shit. Maybe we can. I want to cover some Sleepaway Camp, not even the whole franchise, but maybe just the first one. Shit,
Yeah.
or I mean, or we could do it like as just like a we could do that as a franchise because two and three are fun to talk about, but they're not really like you don't have to go front to back with those. You kind of just talk about all the
Mhm.
kills and the fun shit. So,
Hell
but
yeah. No, that'd be fun. I am always down for some summer camp slashers. So,
yeah. Well, I'll get up with you soon. If anybody's listening, make sure you. I guess I gotta do a real outro of some sorts. But if you're listening or watching, I guess on YouTube, just make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, leave a rating if it's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you think in the comments of the Phantasm franchise. If you have a ranking, let us know what you think. And uh, if you would like to see us do more franchises in the future, let us know what franchises you'd like to see us do. Maybe, and if you'd like to see us cover them all in one episode, or if you like this format better, where we actually, do each episode, uh, as a singular movie. We did, of course, a double feature this week, but made it a lot more sense to do the double feature with these two because the
Yeah,
storylines just felt like they just go in circles for most of the films with like a little bit of info here and there. So,
totally.
but hell yeah, well, I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Have a great night. And yeah, I'll see you at the next one.